Hi, good evening. Welcome to the Jon Gaunt podcast. Tonight, the BBC is in the dock. They're before a very influential meeting of MPs. And I guess it now comes to the question, is it time to scrap the licence fee? Do we need to make the BBC smaller? What's your opinion? After the Donald Trump affair, the Panorama programme, is it time to cut the BBC down to size? Is the BBC just too big? Is it biased? Is it institutionally biased, either left or right? I want your opinions tonight, please. It's the big one. They're in today. They're in a sort of annex off the other side of the road, actually, to the House of Commons. The chairman has apologised to the public and the licence fee payers, and rightly so. But basically, it sounds like they didn't know what they were doing. It was complete and utter chaos. Is the BBC just too big? Why don't we cut it down to size? Have the news as one thing over here, which you can pay for if you want or not, and then the entertainment over the other side, and maybe that can be sponsored. I want your views. So good evening. It's Jon Gaunt here. Here we're discussing, well, I think it's lighting the fuse of a debate that's been bubbling away for years. The BBC, yes, Auntie, is well and truly back in the spotlight, with MPs digging into fresh allegations of political bias. And this time it involves Donald Trump. Also, Donald Trump saying he's going to sue them for billions. Is the public's patience wearing thin? Here's the big question. Do you believe the BBC will survive? And if so, how should it survive? So you could just say yes or no to that question. Put your comments down in the comment box at the bottom, please. But isn't it time now to get rid of the very old-fashioned license fee, which used to pay for all of it? I think it's the best part of 1 million people are now refusing to pay. That number's only going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. The BBC, well, it's a white elephant, isn't it? It's from a bygone age. When you think you can now get Apple, you can get Netflix, you can get YouTube. Well, lots of people watching stuff on YouTube. Is linear TV finished? And do you refuse? Does it annoy you that you've got to pay for it? Do you believe now the BBC has run its course? Or are you worried that if the BBC was to go, we'd lose some fantastic programs? I'm not a fan of David Attenborough, but I know a lot of people are. I do like certain dramas on the BBC. I like that Riot Women that was just on. I like Shetland, for example. That other one with the coppers in Belfast. There's been some great drama on the BBC. But maybe if that was over here in a separate silo and I could decide to buy it or not, a bit like I decide to buy an online newspaper or I decide to buy Netflix or anything else, that's the way it should be. Is there any need for the BBC to be so big? What is it? 26,000 people. And like when they do football, you often will, or cricket, you'll have Radio 5 Live there, 5 Dead as I call it, but you'll also have local, you'll also have Radio 4. It's overkill, isn't it? They're just bloated. It is the bloated broadcasting corporation. Or am I being unfair? I worked for them. I've never personally worked for them in the sense of being on the books. I've always been a freelancer. But for the best part of 30 odd years, I was at the BBC. I saw the bias, though, and after 7/7 and 9/11, it got terrible because basically the middle managers are scared of their shadows, and any time you mentioned Muslims or Islam or Islamist or terror, the whole control room, when I was on the radio, filled up with middle managers. They were absolutely petrified. And there is this sort of group think where they think they're so bloody wonderful. Your opinion, please, because in a world where you can watch what you want and when you want, I mean, do you ever watch anything live anymore? EastEnders, I try to finish these shows so I can go and watch a bit of EastEnders, but it doesn't really bother me if I miss it because I can just get it again later, either on the iPlayer or because it's recorded. So why are we still being made to pay for a broadcaster? Some people now also say we can no longer trust. Let's get on to that. Because what they did with that Panorama, it goes against your basic journalistic training. Anybody knows that that's wrong. You don't clip 2 bits of sound or 2 bits of video together to say something different to what actually happened. It's just common sense. You do that. Now, why did they do that? I mean, what were they trying to achieve? If Trump's speech was that bad, if he had incited the riot, there was no need to do that. I'll tell you what it is. It's groupthink again. Just like with Palestine and just like with Hamas, just like with the Palestinian, whatever it's called this week, the Aston Villa story, when they basically immediately side with the Palestinians against the Jews or the Israelis. Israel can do no right as far as the BBC are concerned. And it's kind of this bias, this left-wing bias, I thought, which runs right through the spine of the BBC. Well, I don't want to pay for their bias. Brexit was, for me, one of the last straws. The BBC had decided, along with many members of the government on all parties, that we were not going to leave. And Farage pulled off the absolute impossible, didn't he? And they all had faces like smacked arses. I'm talking about the BBC. I thought they would have put on black armbands. They were in mourning because they see themselves as progressive and liberal. They don't like the ordinary people having their say. Well, the ordinary people who pay the license fee. And so we've got this ridiculous thing where you're having to pay for something you don't necessarily want to watch, or you might want to just watch parts of it. So I think the answer is BBC News is one thing, because that costs them a fortune. That now, I don't think there's any need for it, if I'm honest with you, because you can get a variety of news through YouTube, through things like GB News now, through ITV. You don't need this massive organization called the BBC, who are all singing, I'm sorry, they are, from the same hymn sheet. I would also argue, can you actually have impartiality? I'm not sure you can anymore. And I don't think people necessarily want it, because GB News, for example, that is partial. It is coming from a right-wing stance. But that doesn't mean it's rubbish. It just means it's different. So why can't we do that? And then the entertainment side, I've said this for many, many years. Strictly, for example, I'm not saying have adverts in the middle of it, but you could have Strictly brought to you by Guinness at the beginning of the program, like Morse used to be on the ITV. A lot of these programs could be sponsored. And before you say, no, that would alter it, just look at the football, what little football they have. Look at all the advertising behind them when they interview a player. Look about how they call it. It's not anymore, is it? But the Barclays Premier League. It's branded all the way through. And it's the same with other sports. So why don't we just admit that and say, we'll take their money and we're going to do the show? Then EastEnders, popular shows, they would attract sponsorship as well. So it just needs a different way of thinking about it. But one thing that needs to go is the compulsory license fee. 1 million people no longer paying for it, and people still being sent to prison, mainly women, by the way. That's just ludicrous. It's just outdated and it's outmoded. But maybe you think I'm wrong. So I want to hear your views, because I'm telling you, I was watching that. I did a show earlier, by the way. If you want to watch it later, try and have a look at that one. I thought it was. It got a massive reaction, the show I did earlier today. It's up on YouTube as well. So go and have a look at it if you want, or in the usual places where you get your podcast. But in between that, I watched this BBC, interrogation is the only way to call it, by the MPs. And the way the chairman apologised, he'll be gone by Monday. He's not going to last. Well, he won't last to the end of this week. He basically resigned in this trial, if you want to call it a trial, today. So here's my questions. Is the BBC biased? Is it out of touch? And is the license fee now a relic from the steam-powered age of broadcasting, when we all used to have to wear dinner jackets? Get your comments in. Strap yourself down, because this one could be really, really lively. And as I was saying to you, please have a look at the one I did earlier, which I think is another great show. You've got 2 shows today. It's got to be worth you donating a few quid to me tonight, hasn't it? 2 shows, 2 lots of Gaunty. So feel free if you want to join in. I'm just looking to give you the exact title of the show from earlier. Oh, it was about, I'll tell you what it was. It was about Farage and not UKIP, Brexit, and the whole idea of this thing now that they're calling them Nazis. They're trying to imply that was Farage on the take, like, what's his name? The one who's just gone down for it for 10 months. I know him, right? I know him. And I was making the point earlier, look, let's stop all this Nazi thing. You know, so-and-so's a Nazi because I don't agree with their views. Politics has got to get a bit more grown up. I mean, today you have the chairman of the Conservative Party basically suggesting that the whole of Reform and all of their supporters are Nazis. That's got to be stopped, hasn't it? So that's there anyway. If you want to watch it, I put it up earlier. But tonight, the BBC. Is it time to scrap the BBC? Or do you think we'd regret that? Do you think the BBC still does some things well? Would you be willing to pay a slightly smaller license fee? Or do you just think the whole concept of a license fee is finished? I'd like your opinion. So the big question is, can the BBC survive? I don't think they can. I think the writing is on the wall. MPs are probing fresh allegations of bias. The license fee is massively under fire. Millions of you are refusing to pay. And it seems as if the BBC is just out of tune and out of touch with ordinary people in the street. So is it time to pull the plug? Is the BBC still fit for purpose in a multi-platform world, or is it clinging to a past whilst the audience walk away? Well, I say that, but look at the audience figures for Strictly. So let's have your comments. Write them down in the comment box, and I'll come to them as soon as I possibly can. If you're liking what I'm talking about, if you like my shows, please press the like button, whether you're listening on a podcast or whether you're watching live on Jon Gaunt TV on YouTube. Press the like button, or on Facebook or on Twitter, wherever you are. Make sure you're telling people that you like it. It helps the algorithm, helps my figures, but also as well, share it. Tell other people about this show. And don't forget, the show is completely independent. No one's funding it apart from you. So if you'd like to make these continue, please contribute a little bit. You can do that on the YouTube channel simply by clicking the $ and donating whatever you want. Some people put a couple of quid in, some people put a tenner, some people put even more, or by going to www.buymeacoffee.com/Jon Gaunt on the internet and buy me a coffee or buy me a cold beer. Right, enough of the adverts. Let's get started with the show. So let me just remind you, is the BBC finished? What did you make of the Trump thing? I mean, do you think Trump should be suing them? Or maybe today is about the idea of persuading him not to. Has Auntie, as we used to call it, lost the plot? And indeed, the public. The license fee, would you keep it? Would you scrap it? Would you cut it down massively? Tell me your view in the comments, and I'll read the best ones out. Fraser Ford says, hello. Hang on, there it is. Hello, thank you, Fraser. Then he says, I watch TV through my PC. You still need a license for that, mate. That doesn't get you out of the problem. It's only if you're watching pre-recorded stuff you can use that excuse. So if you're watching on a computer, you've still got to pay, as far as I understand. So, and it's not really addressing the problem, is it? You need to address the problem, the debate. Do you think the license fee, do you think the BBC is worth the money? That's really the question we're asking for. Jackie Ward, I can't help but think the BBC believe they're beyond criticism. I think you're right, Jackie. Certainly in this case, they thought they were above it all. They know we have no choice but to pay for them, so they can say what they like. They seem to me to be biased towards the left. I really hate having no choice about paying for them. It should be personal choice. I think I've come to that agreement, that argument as well, Jackie. Thank you very much indeed for your comment. And I think when it comes to Trump, I think they could just get away with it. Like everyone keeps saying, why didn't they put a flash, like a white flash, between the two bits of speech? Therefore, a shorthand telling you this has been edited. What were they trying to do? And no one in the BBC has taken responsibility. Yes, the Director General, Tim Davie, has gone. He's fallen on his sword. Deborah Turner, who was in head of news, she went. That was interesting as well. The chair said, the chairman bloke, Dr. Shah, he said, no, I tried to persuade the Director General to stay. He didn't say the same about the woman who was head of news. He, I thought, was blaming her for this. But it isn't just down to, I mean, we've got to find out who actually was in the editing suite, because that person needs to lose their job. But it's this institutional thing. Trump, awful. Environmental warriors, marvelous. Yeah. Countryside Alliance, monsters. Farmers, monsters. Yeah. It's that kind of nonsense, isn't it? Not Hamas, but the Palestinians, they're great. All the Israelis, they're monsters. There's a genocide. But Donald Trump, fancy picking on Donald Trump. They need their heads testing. Hello, John. Hello again. I'm actually thinking of stopping paying my TV license. All the scandals that have happened, how abuse has happened. I really can't support the BBC anymore, says Emma. Well, be careful, Emma, because if you stop paying, they'll probably have you in court. And that's the problem. It's still an offence where you could end up, certainly being fined, but you could certainly even still end up in prison. I know they're saying they don't want to do that anymore, but no one's paying. And, you know, with the invention of the fire, I haven't got one, by the way, the Fire Stick, people aren't even paying for bloody Sky. So how do they expect them to pay for the BBC? Let's have your comments. What's good on the BBC? What's been the highlights of the BBC? What would you miss? Like I was just saying, I don't think it's as good as the first series. I think we're on series 10 now. But I love Shetland. I do. Strictly, I watch with the mother-in-law every week. I could do without it. I accept that. But I understand why so many people love it. Oh, by the way, good evening. My name's Jon Gaunt. It's the Jon Gaunt Podcast. Don't forget to follow me on Jon Gaunt TV on YouTube. There's too many of everything. It needs to be cut right back to basic TV and radio, says Eric Wood. Eric, yes and no. You see, because I don't think the BBC should be doing Radio 4, Radio 1, or Radio 2. They could all be privatised. People would fund those, big companies. But I also don't think we need, for example, Radio 5 dead, BBC 5 dead. Well, isn't Talk Sport doing that? And the news part of that, isn't GB News doing that in terms of phone-ins and lively banter? Why are we still having to pay for those things? I don't think we should. And BBC Local Radio, I was a massive supporter of that years ago. But it's so rubbish now, isn't it? I've said this so many times. BBC Local Radio, the clue's in the title, local. They should only talk about local issues, football, sport, cricket, all of those things as well, of course. But they shouldn't be trying to be Radio 2 from the 1970s. No music. Just talk, local bands maybe, but just talk about local issues. That's where they've gone wrong. So you've got all these people in local radio who want to be on Radio 2. You've got loads of people on Radio 2 who now want to be on commercial radio. The whole thing's a mess. The whole thing is a mess. And you might think I'm being bitter. I don't think I am. I've had a long time to think about this, but I would love your views. Let's go on it. Question Time has become, Terry Wheatley, has become a selective audience who don't speak for the UK. Last week's show was totally impartial on all aspects. Thank you, Terry. I think the problem with Question Time, I've been on it twice. Certainly when I was on it, it was kind of all opinions were there. But I watched it, was it this week or last week? I watched about 10 or 15 minutes of it and I couldn't stand it because I think I'm probably agreeing with you, Terry. All the audience were liberals. And this one woman said something, there's this massive round of applause. And like she was the only one clapping. So it seems as if they were massaging the sound effects as well. There's just this liberal bias running through the BBC News in particular. And that's got to change. What do you reckon? Let's have a view. August Moore. They think they are far superior than the British licence fee payers. They've been getting away with this kind of thing for too long. Rest in peace, the BBC, says Augustus Moore. Thank you very much indeed. Lay down behind a hedge telling you there's a war zone when there's F4 happening, says Fraser Ford. Oh, you're talking about the, I've forgotten his name now, but the guy who's the Middle Eastern correspondent. What's his name? Not Jeffrey. Anyway, we'll come back to me in a minute. Jeremy Bowman, Jeremy somebody. Yeah, I've seen that clip on YouTube. I wonder if there's more to that story. I don't know. They should be impartial, but they should be impartial, but they should stop all this woke shit. Thank you very much indeed. Why are you back? Showing your old face. No one listens to you anymore. Ho! This is on YouTube. I'm not going to say his name because it's offensive what he's written there. He said, why are you back showing your face? No one listens to you anymore. But you've taken the time to come on and say that to me. So you clearly listen. Moron. Goodbye. Thank you very much indeed. I stopped you coming on again now because I've banned you. Let's carry on. It's state-owned and controlled because how come if you don't pay, it's a state crime, says David KT. That's certainly one way of looking at it, David. Thank you. No wonder GB News has more views than the BBC, John. Well, yeah, let's be honest about that. When GB News say they're the best watched TV news program, the clue is in the word news. So they talk about beating Sky and they talk about beating the BBC. When they say the BBC, they mean the news channel. They do not beat, and I'm not having a go at them, I'm just telling you the facts. They don't beat the 6 o'clock news or the 10 o'clock news. That isn't what they're saying. They're talking about pure news. So, well, they're bigging themselves up, which you can't blame them for doing. But I don't think we'd miss it because if you wanted the more liberal view of the world, you'd watch Channel 4 News. If you wanted a more right-wing slant to it, you'd watch GB. You don't need the BBC. Where are we going next to? Here, GB News is funded by Israel or something similar. No, GB News, as far as I understand it, it's funded by a bloke whose son was in Mumford and Sons. He's extremely wealthy. And a finance firm who are based in Dubai. I think that's a fact. I don't know the exact thing behind it, but they're privately funded. Yeah, that's where it's coming from. And obviously, they've got to start getting advertising because I don't know if you've noticed, they don't have much adverts. And without adverts, they can't exist. But I think they're doing something different in the market, and I wish them all the success in the world. Where are we going next? Steve Palmer, you haven't been on for a few days. At the very least, the license fee is not suited to how broadcast programs are now being consumed. I think that's a good point. Maybe that's where the debate should start from, Steve. In a world where we don't have to watch any live TV, we can watch everything on catch-up. We got YouTube and the rest of it. And you got all these... Since I've been doing my YouTube channel and I've been watching other stuff on there, your mind does open up. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of crackpots, but there's also people just got a different perspective. Maybe that's what the BBC should do, but they won't, of course, because they keep a very narrow establishment view on things. Let's hear your views on it, please. Martin Bignell says you can no longer get access to the NHS dentistry services in the UK. And what has the Labour government done about it? Not a damn thing. The only thing that gets up my nose is all these illegal immigrations, mostly young men of fighting age, getting free NHS dentists at our expense. Martin Birchall. Do you not know what the agenda is tonight, Martin? We're talking about the BBC. Why have you suddenly come on talking all that rubbish? It's not rubbish, but can you try and keep on the agenda? Thank you very much. Good evening, John. The Richard Pope says the license fee should be scrapped. The BBC are losing out to it anyway. I'd pay a subscription for the quality programs. Now, Richard, I think that you're making a fair point there, and I think that's where I am. I would be quite willing to pay, like a roster of programs that I want to watch, even if they're watchable. So I'm not saying it's got to be pay-per-view, but I'm saying that, well, maybe the documentaries, some of their long-running series. I am a bit of a sucker for EastEnders, got to admit it. What else do I like? Like I say, I like, at the moment, Shetland. I love that programme, that series about the women in the rock band. The BBC still do produce some great, great drama. But I can't tell you the last time I listened to Radio 1. Radio 2, I listen to it occasionally if Lisa's got it on, but I'm not listening. Radio 4, no. Because I hear the bias there. That Nick Robinson, he's so biased. It's unbelievable. So I don't want that. So why do I have to pay for it? Local radio, no thank you. Unless it's the football covering Coventry City. So perhaps that's the way forward. I don't know. I'm open to suggestions. Come on, let's have some more ideas. Scrap the TV license, says Chris. Thank you very much indeed. I was mentioning to you earlier as well, I did a show this afternoon about 2:30, all about Nigel Farage, this latest thing about their new badge being Nazi and they're all fascists. And this whole way they keep getting at him as if Nathan, whatever his name is, the guy who was obviously taking money from the Russians, right? I condemn him, by the way. It's treasonous. That's wrong. But how come that's, therefore now they've got free will on the internet to basically say Farage is doing the same? They've got no evidence for it. Because I'm sure if they did, they'd have him in court by now, wouldn't you? So this whole idea that I don't like reform, therefore I'm going to call them fascists. And this was the chairman of the Tory party. So you may want to comment on that now. Feel free. But make sure you listen to the podcast or watch it later. 2 shows in one day and no one's donating. Come on, guys. Put your hand in your pocket. Help us out, even if it's a £5 or a couple of quid. Just click now on the $sign and donate whatever you can afford. Let's keep free independent broadcasting going. And, of course, you get your name called out on the show as well. If you don't want to do it that way, you can do it just simply by going to www.buymeacoffee.com/Jon Gaunt. Fraser says, calling people fascist or Nazi is brainwashing for the woke, dumb people to carry name-calling rather than use that brain in their heads. If they can find it, you're right. Denise Deacon, I think it's a downright cheek that we have to pay for a license just for watching any live TV. And not just the BBC. You're right, Denise, that is the law. They think they have us over a barrel. I cancelled mine a couple of years ago after Hugh Edwards walked away with £280,000. That's right. And he never gave back any of his pension either. I was disgusted. I had someone come to my door, but I spoke to him from my bathroom window. Don't let them in, is my advice. You sound like Captain Mannering. Pike, don't let him in. Don't tell him your name, Pike. Yeah, nice one, Denise. I know where you're coming from. It wasn't just him. What about Jimmy Savile? There's been a whole raft of perverts and nonces they've employed. Mind you, if you're employing 26,000 people, there's always a chance, isn't it? It's just too big. Isn't that the bottom line? It's too big, and it's too big for one person, whether it's a man or a woman, to run on their own. So we've got to change the way it's structured. Would you agree or not? Get rid of, simple, says Diamond 21450. He wants the BBC gone. Laura Delhay, 25, says, I hope they will scrap the license. Fingers crossed. And I'm hoping that they will scrap the license from Laura. I don't really understand it. He was the same thing twice, but fair enough. Thank you for your comments. John Briggs, I cannot vote for a party where a leader lies about Tommy Robinson. Oh, sorry. Hold on a minute. I've lost you there. Wait a minute. There it is. Farage is a snake. Reminder, Farage accused Tommy of assaulting females. This was a blatant lie. It was definitely false. You're right. Weak men tell lies. See, got no time for Farage at all. How are you going to get rid of this lousy Labour government then? Come on, Brains of Britain, John. I'd like to know your views, because Tommy or Robinson is never going to get elected. I know, Tommy. It's a different issue altogether. It's time for the BBC to go. They are supporting the Labour government. If someone has a different view to them, they're called fascist. Thank you, Martin. Fraser. I torrent stuff. I'm pirate. I get every TV show and films and music. I collected everything. If the internet goes down, I have the files stored up. Oh, Fraser, you're such a revolutionary. I'm taking the mickey. Thank you, mate. Alien Intelligence Agency. He just says simply BBC lies. And he says that in capitals. 30 minutes. I'm only going to do about another 5. So if you do want to get on, make sure you make your comments now. And also, if you want to donate, please do it now. Just click the little icon, the dollar icon, donate whatever you can afford, or go to www.buymeacoffee.com/Jon Gaunt. And also, the biggest way you can support me, of course, I keep saying this, is to make sure, even if you're listening on a podcast now, when you get home or on your mobile, go to Jon Gaunt TV, right? Jon Gaunt TV on YouTube and subscribe. A little pop-up comes up saying, do you want to subscribe to this channel? Say yes. It doesn't cost anything. It's completely free. What then happens is, if you hit the notification bell, every time I do an extra show, by the way, I didn't do one yesterday, but every time I normally do an extra show, you get told it's happening and you don't miss anything. Plus, once you become a subscriber on my YouTube channel, you get access to all the other videos and programs we've made. Okay, thank you. I think it's terrible that when you buy a new TV, you have to give the shop your address as policy from the BBC so they can send a license and bill you. That is the truth. It's actually not the BBC. People always say, oh, it's the BBC license fee. I think they're a separate company, right? But yes, they do. It's the same piece, Capita, isn't it, who do it? The same people who do the congestion charge in London. But yeah, you do have to fill out a form. If you buy a new telly, you have to say where it's going to be. But of course, if you buy a new telly and only use it to play computer games on or watch videos, they can't do you for that. But you see, it's just impossible, isn't it? I mean, like I say, with that Fire Stick, again, I haven't got one, but I know people who have. How would Sky or any of these people ever clamp down on that? And that's at the height of technology. There's too many people doing it. You can't. So you've got to think of a new way of funding. Den Spinks, I think they thought it was funny to edit Trump's video, but they're not laughing now. I think you're right. I think there's this collective group think where, oh, well, let's stuff it to Trump. But they've picked on the wrong guy, haven't they? I don't want him to do them for 15 billion or whatever it is. I don't want that to happen, really, if I'm honest with you. But I don't really want the BBC to continue the way it is either. The BBC will never take responsibility on Facebook, says Kat Ennals. When Savile did what he did, they all stood by and did nothing. They knew what was going on. And rather than doing anything about it, they tried to bury it at all. Well, I'm not sure about the whole truth of that, but I understand where you're coming from. Because indeed, the chairman talked about that today, about how slow they were off the mark. It's just not agile enough. They should have apologized to Trump on day one and said that show will never be on again. We've just taken off the iPlayer. Please forgive us, Mr. Trump. But of course, the problem is they'd already done it on another program as well. It's just no good. It's just too big. I bet Midlands Today won't show the farmers' protest that took place today. I've never seen so many tractors on the bridges over the M5 as I did this today. Richard, watch it and tell me. Put the video on and tell me tomorrow whether they did cover it, because obviously I'm on air, so I can't see. Oh, it's just finished, isn't it? The other thing I noticed, the BBC argument being left-wing biased, is whenever I saw anyone defending them, it was always someone from the left wing, says Denise. Thank you. We all miss Jim will fix it, says Paul Wood. Oh, you're an amusing person, aren't you? BBC local radio is now regionalised in the afternoon. Yes, I disagree with that completely. Paul Wood, you've had one little funny joke. I'm not reading that anymore. BBC hates Donald Trump and they're trying to bring him down. On another note, I heard that the BBC is putting their licence fee up to 181 quid next year. I would like to know if that's true. Yeah, it's going up next year, but the other thing is they're actually talking about wanting even more. It just can't happen. It just won't work. People, as I said, I think it's 1 million people haven't bought a license fee this year. They're just not going to do it. And once there's enough people not paying it, it's finished, isn't it? David KT, I remember out in the Gulf War in 1991, Kate Adie, I guess that is, was running around chasing tanks with pendants flying. And so too she got to us when we told her to foxtrot Oscar. Thank you very much indeed, David. Steve Palmer, what a man. He's just donated £4.99, a fiver. Thank you, Steve, by clicking the dollar sign. He says, BBC model should now be subscription. Perhaps some things of national general interest available to all, but with adverts and sponsorship. I agree, Steve. I tell you what, though, I know what I tried to do the other day. I woke up early and I thought, I'm going to watch the Ashes. So I've got Sky Sports. Oh, yeah. So I just naturally assumed it would be there. It wasn't. It's now on TNT. Now, I know Sky's not part of the BBC, but my point is, what they're doing is making it so you can't have things. Even, I begrudged having to pay Sky for the Ashes. I think the Ashes and Wimbledon, the rugby internationals, obviously England football, not that bothered about watching anymore. But you understand what I mean? They should be free for all. Well, not free because we paid the license fee, but you should be able to get them. But I couldn't believe it. I just thought, well, that's another way TV has completely changed. Completely changed. So you can't watch the Ashes even on Sky. Is it on TNT or something like that? I don't even know what it's called. John Briggs, finally a political party that will unite the UK, advance UK. Let's make Britain safe and free again. Follow and support Ben and Beeb. Tommy Robinson's has joined. Now it's time for you to join. John, I really don't like you trying to use my program as an advertising thing for whatever your particular thing is. We're not talking about Advance UK today. We will on other days, but take your propaganda elsewhere. Not that I'm against Ben and Beeb or even Tommy. I'm just saying that's not the idea of the program. Den Spinks, when you buy a new TV, you have to tell Google where you are. Is that right? What, when you first turn it on? Yeah, you probably do. UK video clip. Serco clipped the BBC licence fee. That's right. Used to be Capita, didn't they? They also sort out the migrant hotels. Excuse me. Go search Serco. Thank you very much indeed. Paul Wood says, can I have Pam Millett's phone number? No, I don't know her phone number, and I certainly wouldn't give it out to somebody who I don't know or that maybe she doesn't know. It's not my job to do that. Contact her through YouTube. Great show, John, says Den. Thank you. Well, I thought it was a pretty good show. It wasn't a great show, but I've done 2 today. So look, once we've finished, feel free, go into Jon Gaunt TV and look at the other one as well. I'm trying to remember what the title is now. Let me just have a look on my phone. But it's all about Farage. I'll really lose my rag in it. You'll enjoy it. If you like a Gaunty rant, you'll really love it. You'll really love it. Oh, brilliant. We've just hit 6,000 subscribers, I've just seen. So that's fantastic as well. What's it called, the show? Hang on a minute. Where is it? Here it is. Sorry about this. Spot the Difference, it's called, this one. And it's basically a picture of Farage, and it's got the logo of his new badge for his football shirt, and then the Nazi logo that idiot was comparing it to. I think you'll enjoy it. It was a good show. Just got me rag off a bit this afternoon and fired away. So have a look at that if you fancy. That's there as well. So that'll keep you up all night. You don't need the BBC. You've got 2 of my shows to watch. I'll be back tomorrow at... I might have to pre-record tomorrow's show. I can't tell you why. It's a bit embarrassing, but maybe I will tomorrow. But there will be a show tomorrow. But there's 2 shows in the can now. Please spread the word. Please tell all your friends about the Jon Gaunt Show. And please subscribe to Jon Gaunt TV on YouTube. As I say, we're just there. I just looked at that on my phone. That's absolutely brilliant. It's been hovering around 6,000 subscribers from nothing. It's just brilliant. Thank you so much for making it successful. Just got to make it financially successful next. Jackie Ward's given me 3 red hearts. Thank you. Oh, I tell you who's not been on tonight, but she normally asks me about the Coventry City. I said 2-1, didn't I? I nearly said 3-2. I wish I had. With Coventry City just magnificent again. Did you watch it on the telly? I watched it on the telly. I thought they were brilliant. And, you know, I've said before, and I've got to say it again, I've got to apologise. I thought Frank Lampard would be useless after Mark Robbins, but he's been a genius with the team. A few more games and we'll be champions. It's just, well, sort of. It's just unbelievable. Unbelievable. And we're playing such good football. Exciting to watch. Sorry, I've got off on one there. So don't forget, have a watch of me Farage one or a listen on the podcast. I'll be back tomorrow at some point. I'll let you know. And the best way to keep up with me is to go to Jon Gaunt TV on YouTube and subscribe. Hit the notification bell. I'll let you go now. I'm back tomorrow. Look forward to talking to you again. Until then. Oh, don't forget, also, if you want to comment ever when I'm off air, it's best to do that in Jon Gaunt TV as well. You can put comments on the YouTube channel. All helps me. Thank you. Back tomorrow. Until then, if you've got kids, give them a kiss. Give them a hug. Hey, hey, hey. Don't forget to tell them you love them. See ya.